our guest speaker of this session, I would like to quote few lines of Jen Brandquin. Lawyers are operators of toll bridges which anyone in search of justice must pass. We are fortunate to have eminent personality with us today, Honorable Advocate Ashish Sonamne, as a resource person for having a deliberation on this topic on behalf of IEEE Bombay Section Student Activities Committee and Applied Education at Sakula Law College. Let me please extend a warm welcome to you, sir. Friends, I'm really excited to introduce our speaker this evening. Honorable Sir has completed LLB, LLM, and also holds bachelor degree in engineering. Sir is a technology lawyer with 16 years of experience, having an expertise in science and technology law, data privacy and security, financial technologies, international law, mediation and negotiation, and so on. He also worked as a software engineer, business analyst, and delivery manager for banking and financial services industry for leading global banks such as Barclays, Nomura, and Credit Suisse. After the corporate stint, he joined the legal profession and having international work experience and has closely worked with stakeholders from the UK, US, Japan, and Singapore. He is the founder of Nyayaniti, an interdisciplinary corporate law firm. The firm provides cutting edge legal policy consultancy and litigation support to its clients, and also the founder of Nyayaniti Prabodhini, a foundation that works on domains such as legal policy, research, and legal aid. He has presented several papers at national and international conferences. Notable among these are 2017 and 2018 presentation in the World Bank's Land and Poverty Conferences held at Washington, D.C. Sir is also a registered patent agent and trademark attorney in India. That's why we brought him out today to speak to you because of the results that he is provided and created in other scenarios. And that's what we are trying to do in our own community. So, without further ado, help me to request Advocate Ashish Sonamne for sharing his expert opinion with us. Thank you so much, sir. The session is all yours.
Thank you very much, Bunty ji, for such a warm introduction, and a very good afternoon, rather good evening to you all, viewers. Very difficult to speak, after such an informative session and two exemplary speeches and sessions from my fellow colleagues out here. So I'll try and present my view in terms of the IPR and the composite IP strategy which is required in today's day and age. So may I request the organizer, yeah, to please share the screen. So uh, well, my topic today is IPR and composite IP strategy, and hope you are able to see my screen. So the agenda here is that we'll very quickly go through the introduction, why IPs require different forms of IP in this area, because already it has been discussed in today's session, and a bit about evaluation of patent, as my fellow colleague has explained about the patentability and the challenges in terms of specifications, and then the IP strategy, and we'll get some case studies in the meantime. All right, so intellectual property. So we all are discussing about the intellectual property, guys, right? So what is it? Yeah, it's a property. The way we see property all around us, the land, right? Land is a property. A car, in the earlier session, a Ferrari was referred. Ferrari is definitely a property. A lot of money is required to buy it. But when we refer property in terms of the intellect, then where is that property? That property is inside our mind, isn't it? So it's all about property, which is an expression of our mind in a very simplistic term, right? So if we see the kind of age we are living now, in fact, the present session through which we all are connected and interacting, what is this? Digital age, right? Gone are the days with typewriters. Now, let's take this example. What is this? This is the pictorial depiction of everything what we're doing now. Yeah. So literally, we all have become the TV guys, right? We are having this discussion, which typically happens on the TV because we have panelists out here talking, and we have Bunty as the coordinator or the host for the show, right? In fact, not only this session, but if we see our kitchens in the country, everybody has turned into a chef and cook. So we have a lot of YouTube videos been uploaded, right, all across. So what age we are living in? Information age. And what is the driver in the information age? What is the property in the information age? That property is intellectual property, isn't it? So very quickly, what we can say now is that the technology is at the center of the human existence now. And who drives the technology? Once again, the intellectual property. So with this in mind, if we talk about the current day and age, what we talk about? We talk about Industry 4.0. What is Industry 4.0? Industry 4.0 is the next generation of the technology. When we got www dot, right, the internet era, this era of Industry 4.0 is much bigger than the internet era, right? And who are the drivers out here? Drones, blockchain, big data, augmented reality, 3D printing, virtual reality, artificial intelligence, robots, IoT, Internet of Things, genetics. So a lot is happening, my dear friends, and you all must have been experiencing all the changes throughout the life. So when we talk about the students, as I understand, the audience for this session is predominantly from the universities, and obviously there are practitioners. So everybody is talking these days about startup. Startup India is the buzzword, isn't it? Everybody is writing down plan for the next big idea, next big company. And while we are writing down the next big idea and the next big company, I would like to cite this example. You guys know this actor? Yeah, he's Mahesh Babu. Yeah, Mahesh Babu, the South Indian film star, right? There's a very good movie which is available on Amazon Prime. It is called Maharshi. I would request each one of the people who's listening this show to watch this movie. This movie is a depiction of aspirational India, from an engineer who turned into a startup guy who has written the code, went into the US and then came back and did something in agriculture. So please watch this movie from the IP point of view, yeah, and the motivation point of view as well. Cool. Then we will quickly cover the intellectual property landscape. I will not cover different types of intellectual property, but why intellectual property is essential, right? Intellectual property is essential because it is critical to the national industry slash innovation policy. If we see this day and age, somebody was asking where India stands in the IPR index, right? And currently we stand at a very list ring of the industrial nations. So we need to improve on that, right? And for that as well, we need to have this policy in the right shape. As I already mentioned, IP plays significant role in every walk of life. We will cover the case study of Apple, right? The telephones which we use, the social media which we use, right? Everything these days has an IP angle associated with it. More patents, copyrights, trademarks are registered every year. Much aware of, right? And those are costs and benefits. Does IP come for free? Obviously, it is not, right? IP comes with a cost. So we need to understand what are the costs associated with forms of IP and what are the benefits we will get out of it, right? Then the rules, basically, right now, if we see in Indian scenario precisely, if we consider the average time which it takes for granting a patent is a significant time. Moreover, the question which was earlier about the role of IP in the pandemic situation, how are we managing the benefits given to the inventor in such a scenario when the humanity is at stake? So we need to really balance out the ROI, return on investment, in terms of the property which we are creating, right? And when you know IP, intellectual property, mark my words, guys, in the coming days and age, if you know intellectual property, how it functions, you will be very much in demand as an innovator, as well as a lawyer, as well as an ordinary citizen as well. These are very, very critical things. Now, let's come very quickly about the economics of IP. We all know what is competitive market. Yeah, we all have gone to sabzi mandi, right? So in sabzi mandi, क्या होता है सब्जी मंडी में? सब्जी वाले बैठे होते हैं, right? They all are seated next to each other. And what we do? We do bargaining, isn't it? So the margin in businesses wherein market is very competitive, there is no distinctive age, then the markets are very competitive. There's hardly any margin. So these poor people with whom we actually negotiate in the subsumandi, do they earn a lot? Unfortunately, they don't. Then at the extreme end, what we have monopolic market, right? Wherein something amazing has been put in by someone, and that person, maybe because of his uniqueness, charges a lot of revenue, charges a lot of pricing for the products which it produces. And then comes in middle of the pricing curve is something which is called as IP pricing. Again, there is a bracket out here. This is the expected IP pricing, that it should sit in the middle of the competitive, highly competitive market and the monopolistic market, right? But what we see in practice in certain cases, for example, Apple, those who are in the Apple ecosystem knows that every single accessory of Apple needs to be bought exclusively. So IPE is something which is a key strategy to maintain its monopoly for the Apple, right? Let's take further step ahead now. So intellectual property rights. Kulkarni sir in the beginning has explained, most of these elements. Let's say patent, trademark, and all. I'll not get into that, but I just want you to remember some of these types of IPRs, right? Because when we talk about composite IP strategy, we would be using for a business to apply or to take resort to many of these IP strategies at one single point in time. Yeah. So we'll very quickly get into the cost and benefit analysis, right? So what are the benefits? Obviously, when we have IP, the inventor has some protection about his innovation, and that is why there is an increase in terms of innovation and products, new products coming in. Then when somebody files a patent, when somebody does a disclosure, that is what we call it, what happens is that the knowledge gets into the public domain. Then there is increased commercialization, very high rate of commercialization happens, and then increased number of investment happen in terms of these domains. For example, healthcare, a lot of investment is happening. Information technology, a lot of investment is happening. So IP in a way is a driver for the investment. However, there are certain costs as well, right? Dead weight loss is something, is a very significant loss which is out here, that sometimes when we get an IP right assigned, then somebody may not use it, right? And people need to pay premium in terms of using it, and that is where the rent seeking comes in. And so at times when we see certain industrial practices wherein people in a way bar future inventions with the recurring filings of the IP protections, right? So this is something to an extent goes to the limitation of the future invention. Similarly, there are administrative costs associated with the procurement of IP rights. Now, if we consider patent, I'll not get in detail, but I will very quickly highlight about what is patent and what are the five key categories of the patent. I mean to say how we can derive the patentability. So first of all, it should be a patentable subject matter. It has to have industrial applicability. Without industrial application, an idea cannot be patented. It has to be novel, and there has to be an inventive step. Novelty and inventive step are closely associated with each other, and there has to be specifications very clearly and crisply written in it. I'll very quickly go with a case study around it. So for example, when we go in terms of analyzing claim, what is a patent? Patent is nothing but claims, and a patent application can have multiple claims, and each claim in the patent application has to independently satisfy the test for the patentability. Let's take an example of a pencil. Yeah, it's a very simple example which we use since we enter the kindergarten, right? So there can be a claim for a pencil. What is it? A writing implement considering a wooden cylinder with hollow core, a cylinder of graphite in the said hollow core, a small cylinder of eraser, so and so forth, right? Then there are dependent claims. What is the dependent claims? The invention of the claim 1 is additionally comprising what, which is of yellow color, and it has an eraser on top of it which is of the pink color. Then parts of the claim, we need to see the part of claim. So first one, a writing implement comprising, what is it? That's a close ended claim We are not saying a writing implement, any implement. No, it is comprising certain thing, wooden cylinder and small cylinder of eraser material attached to it. Then elements and description. We very specifically need to write it down. What is wooden cylinder? Wooden cylinder is a wood tube of or shaft of pencil that must be hollow and contain graphite. Then graphite cylinder, then eraser. We need to write down the description. Then while writing down the description, there may be a case that we have some uncertain terms. For example, eraser. What is eraser? Right? We need to define that. Then how do we define all these things? There is a very interesting thing which is called as Fosita. What is Fosita? Person of having ordinary skill in the art of the domain in which you are writing a patent, right? So, for example, in this invention, who should be the Fosita? Somebody who is an experienced designer of writing instruments. Yeah, he or she may be a graduate, may have a graduate degree, but may not have a postgraduate level experience. So that person shall define the eraser. And to say in this case, in the other case, it can be the person whoever is in that domain. So material made up of soft rubber or plastic capable of being used to rub out something written, right? That is what is eraser. Now we need to incorporate that definition in terms of claim, right? So now when we say a claim, it should be a new claim. Let's take an example. What is this, guys? Yeah, this is the Google Glass, which Google has introduced, right? A few years ago. Now, does this glass satisfy the concept of novelty? What is novelty? Novelty means not identically described to the public prior to the patent application filing date. Public को पता नहीं होना चाहिए. Public should not know this particular invention. Neither, you know, novelty in requirement, what it ensures? It ensures that we only grant patents to the new inventions. Moreover, it shall be non-obvious, right? In this particular case, this is not that obvious that, so much of image processing, so much of technology, so much of software been embedded into the small simple glass which even I am using. Yeah, so non-obvious. What does non-obvious means? A significant advance over the prior art, right? So it is not enough to be new, it has to be a significant improvement, right? And that significant improvement shall be according to the Fosita at the time of filing. Then what could be obvious? A simple work of mechanic suggested by problem to be solved. Sometimes what we see, the problem itself offers us a solution. So this shall not be that obvious. Then it shall not be widely known in other fields. Neither it should be prompted by new technology, right? It shall not be that straightforward. Then the ultimate standard of the patentability is what? The non-obviousness. Now we will very quickly get into the copyright domain. Copyright domain, again, my previous speakers have already explained the copyright in detail, so I will not get much into it. However, I'll only assert that copyright protects through exclusive rights, right? What is that exclusive right? That exclusive right is to copy. Then the right to be the only one who either do or authorize the doing of something. Yeah, that is what is the copyright. Then there are certain basic structures of the copyright. It's the reproduction right, adaptation right, public distribution right, public performance right, public display rights, and digital audio and video transmission rights. Yeah, so all these things are basically the copyright structure. Now with this, we'll jump into the trademark area. This is an example of Virgin. Yeah, Virgin is one of the key brands, I would say, in last couple of years. You must have heard about Richard Branson. Yeah, he's the guy, the flamboyant, I would say, entrepreneur is behind Virgin. Now Virgin is in everything. They are mega store. They have audio recordings. They have trains. They are balloon flights. They are an airline. Hell lot of things. They are into. But if you would notice, there's a different trademark which they have registered. The reason I'm explaining this particular thing because it fits into the composite IP strategy. So Virgin didn't stop at the level of getting a trademark only for the Virgin. No, there is a trademark for each different business line for the Virgin, isn't it? Cool. So now with this understanding of patent, copyrights, and trademark, again in patents, design is something which is a different IP option available in India, but in most of the world, patents have both design patents and utility patents in together. So if we consider the strategy chart, what we need to consider: duration for the protection, the expenses to obtain the protection, and breadth of rights. How much right do I get? And what is the coverage? So if we see patent, duration is very less, 20 years. Expense, it's very expensive to get patent. And if you are talking about a multinational or international product, then the expense grows exponentially. But it gives you the best available protection in the field of intellectual property. Coverage is broad in terms of patent. When we talk about copyrights and trademarks, the duration is significant, very high when we compare with the patent. For trademarks, literally it can be up to the life of the product. Yeah. Expenses, copyrights is the cheapest among three. Trademark sits in middle, whereas the coverage for the copyright is very narrow. For trademarks, it's narrow, and for patent, it's broad. So this is a very important chart which we all need to consider when we talk about this strategy in terms of protecting an idea or a product. Cool. Now there is a very small video. I'm not sure whether you would be able to listen to it, but this video is about Velcro.
Everywhere you go, you see the scratchy, hairy fastener, and you say, "Hey, that's Velcro." But even though we invented this stuff, our patent lapsed 40 years ago. Now, no matter who else makes it, you still want to call it Velcro. You think it's awesome? For us, we're famous, but we're lawyers and it's causing us grief. But there are trademark laws being broken. It's all here in this short legal brief. And we know this is confusing because Velcro branded who we are.
So I'll just stop it here for the Velcro video. I would strongly recommend, to watch this video, which is available on the YouTube. It's all about Velcro. Velcro is a very known brand, yeah, and Velcro is literally which we all use as a as an sticking element, right? And this video has been made by the lawyers of the company. That Velcro name has been used for every other similar material or product. The way we have example of Xerox, right? So we literally call Xerox for photocopying, and because of that, the brand dies. And when the brand dies, its trademark also dies. So please watch it. Now we'll very quickly jump onto the case studies, people. What is this? This is the most iconic brand in the world, right? Apple. So when we talk about the Apple's intellectual property strategy, what is it? It has trademarks. Apple has hundreds of trademarks, my dear friends. 3D Touch, AirDrop, AirPlay, everything, every accessory which Apple sells, it gets a trademark for that. Yeah, and the list is ever growing because Apple is all the time coming up with new product and new accessories. Copyright, if we talk about the Apple Music, right, then it's all game of the copyrights in terms of publishing in the Apple Music. Same goes with the Play Store. Now, when we talk about the IP strategy in terms of the phone or in terms of the iOS, we call it, right? So what they have patents. And patent is across the interface element as well as the processes they use. So when I say interface element includes the screen which they are using. And when I say processes, process means what kind of IT software processes which they are using. So they have combination of patents, utility and design. In the Indian context, it would be patent and designs. Yeah. So copyrights, again in copyrights, they have icons. Each and every icon which you see on the screen of your cell phone, same is true with Android as well now, that icon is copyrighted. And not only the icon is copyrighted, but the overall look and feel of the screen itself, that screen's look and feel is also copyrighted. An interesting strategy. Now, trade dress. Trade dress is something which is a new concept in the trademark area. So trade dress is nothing but the overall look and the icon, the grid layout, the overall interface design that gets into the trade dress concept. Then they have layering, I mean to say layering IP strategy. Why they need layering? As I said earlier, because of patent, they get broader protection. However, patent has limited life, so they compensate it with copyright and trademark. That's why different scope of protection, different timing of the protection, and multiple options for the flexibility. That's why they say that Apple is as innovative as how they use IP as they are in product development. It's an amazing case study, people. You can do more research on it. Now, if we consider about GM, yeah, General Motors, the another iconic brand from the US. What do they have? Again, common thing, patent filing. Number of patents are being filed. Now, if we see the patent gives you another insight about the company and the industry as a whole. If we see the patent filed by some of these big companies, GM in this case, as well as other companies like Toyota, what we can see is that the auto industry is moving towards cleaner technology. Electrical vehicle is something which is in demand. A lot of sensors are coming, and we are headed towards this self-driving car. So, same is the story here in the case of GM. Now, so far so good, but what happens in the real world is that disputes. So Apple versus Samsung case is very widely known case in the IP domain, and I would really want you guys to do some research around the Apple versus Samsung case. I'll very briefly touch base about some of the aspects of this case. Right? Again, hardware and software trade dress claims were fiercely debated in various countries. More than 50 countries, this dispute was fought. Yeah, and ultimately this dispute was resolved through some court decisions and through the negotiation channel. Yeah, so please go through this dispute and learn more on yourself. Then there is another case which is very widely known is Aereo case. Aereo case is all about broadcasting the TVs through the internet. Aereo was a company. What they used to do is that they used to subscribe through antennas. So with Aereo case, what I did cover after that is all about the dispute resolution aspects, in terms of the IPR. So if we consider different categories of IPR, those categories are patent, trademarks, copyrights and ICT. So if we consider the disputes, most number of the disputes were generated from the patent, and the reasons were cross licensing, infringement, ownership, patent pools, and so on and so forth, royalty payment. These are the key reasons for the dispute coming out of patent. Then on trademarks, again, infringement, licensing, these are the reasons. But what we really need to understand is through this chart is that we also need to have a composite strategy to deal with these disputes. Yeah. And what we need to have in terms of the strategy is to have the agreements, in a right shape. If we consider the agreements that led to the dispute, then we would understand see the technology agreements leading to disputes. That's why we really need to be very careful in terms of the agreements when we sign them. Merger and acquisition related agreements, then licensing agreements, that is where the smaller players or the inventors comes in, wherein either they license their invention to somebody, a big player, or the big player acquire the smaller player. That's where we really need to be careful in terms of getting into these agreements. Likewise, the NDA component, when we sign the NDA, many a times we see that the NDA has been breached, and as a result, people copy the content or the IPs outside of the institution which has recruited people. So that's where NDA is also another critical element. And same is true with the R&D agreements, right? Which goes hand in hand, R&D agreement and NDA agreements. Similarly, assignments is another major area. Now, that is where we really need to be careful while making all these agreements. We really need to consider the ADR while entering all these agreements, because ADR is the crucial component, and ADR offers a lot of benefits when it compares with the counterpart from the court-based dispute resolution mechanism. So this is the data which comes from WIPO directly, and this is the data about the international contracts and domestic contracts. And if we see the considerations for dispute resolution clauses going into the ADR favor are time and cost, obviously. And third one is enforceability. Because if we see the case between Apple and Samsung, which was fought in 50 different jurisdictions, and when we compare it with the ADR based system, which works on the ICT, all these things wherein ADR becomes much handy in terms of the global nature of the IP. So these are some of the facts and figures in terms of the dispute resolutions through which it has been sought. And what we are now seeing is that court litigation has been limited to roughly 32% cases, while majority of the disputes are now sought to be resolved through ADR. So with this, I really wanted to put an emphasis around ADR as a strategy in overall IP landscape. And with that, I end my session. If there are any questions, I'm open for it. Over to the organizers for the questions.
Yes, sir. We have received questions from the participants related to your topic. I will request you to address it. The first question is how to commercialize IPR.
Commercialization is the key element, and I will say the component as well. So to commercialize, again, most of IPR which we are referring here, right? If we talk about patents, and if the inventor, is not a big entity, I mean to say, he or she is a student or an university or an academic institute. In these varied cases, they may not have the capability to put it in the industrial application. So there can be license agreements which can be signed with bigger players. However, there has to be care which will be taken by signing of all these agreements, because bigger players often tend to take advantage of their position and negotiate very hard. So licensing is one crucial element which can be looked upon the commercialization aspect. Second aspect is that if the innovation is in the tech space and through which it's easy to put to the production, then the commercialization can be sought by the inventor, him or herself. Over to you,
Thank you
Bunty.
so much. Thank you so much, sir. The next question is how do one pursue a career in IPR and internship in IPR firms?
Well, second thing is very important is that when there is wish, I mean to say, right, there has to be a will, right? So wish and will plays an important role. Second thing is nowadays we have a lot of avenues available wherein people can learn about the IP, right? Because understanding IP is the crucial element. And if we see the current landscape wherein a lot of different fields are interacting with each other. For example, let's take Corona case, right? With the Corona coming in, India, we didn't have a lot of equipments to safeguard our doctors, right? So we all have seen in a very quick fashion how we actually procured and produced all these things. So with that, what I'm saying is that there is a lot of innovation which is happening, and if an individual has again when I say practicing in an IP firm, it has two aspects. One is the legal aspect, and second is the tech aspect. If you are well versed with the development around you, then you have all the chances to get into this internship space, and you can learn a lot from the already established players. So most important thing is that attitude.
Okay, sir. My